Welcome back to Close Up. Democrats at the State House are back to the drawing board with their numbers diminished in the House and the Senate. New minority leaders are emerging in both bodies. This morning we are joined by the new Senate Democratic leader, Senator Rebecca Perkins-Coie of Portsmouth. Senator, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
So the question I think a lot of Democrats are asking is, for your party, what went wrong on November 5th?
Yeah, well, I think obviously November 5th did not go exactly as planned, but we have known and do know now that a lot of people across the country are feeling the hurt and the pain and the day-to-day of high costs. And so as a longtime affordable housing advocate, as a small business family that I grew up in, I understand this issue well, and I know that what's forefront for a lot of people as they go through their day is, getting their kids up, like we've talked about, get your kids up, get them to school, get to work, make sure you can fill your car with gas. And so I think focusing on those issues over the next coming years will be a place where we can really connect with voters.
Yeah, we know you face a disadvantageous map in the state Senate. That doesn't necessarily account for Senator Soucy's loss, and then District 11, that swing district there from Merrimack through Milford, went Republican as well. What do Democrats need to do differently to win back that sort of persuadable middle that went Republican this time?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that a lot of people are working on. But, I think overall, when you look at the map, Democrats in the state Senate won 49% of the vote. And so the issues that have been our issues remain our issues. There are still medical needs that need health care. There are still kids that need to be in childcare, and there's still a housing crisis to solve. And so I think there are certainly places where we will be looking to connect better and understand especially better. But I think we also need to look at where Democrats spoke up for the people that live in the state, and we'll continue to serve them by getting things done in Concord.
The traditional base of the Democratic Party is working class, and you've noted that, but we see that demographic change happening a little bit. Anecdotally, Senator-elect Victoria Sullivan was saying she ran into a lot of old school Democrats in Manchester who felt like they didn't belong in the party anymore.
I think that we have always, as Democrats, faced the challenge of a complex message of, being a party where we do value and talk about education a lot. That doesn't mean that everybody doesn't belong in our party. And so I think continuing to build a big tent and really get back to the roots of what so many of us are proud of in America. I connect with the story through what my life has been like. When I was really little, we lived up top of our restaurant. And so, my family had a Dairy Queen. We worked our whole lives really hard. And, I went from working there to being able to go to Ivy League schools, to being able to be a part of this, this body. And so, that's an amazing thing to happen in someone's life, and it's something that I want for everybody, and I think we can continue to work on that.
Are there any policy positions that need to change to reestablish that connection that seems to be fraying?
I think it's a great question. There's always more we can do on housing, and I know that's something I've worked on tirelessly for the past 15 years. I think looking forward, being able to take advantage of, places where dollars are really efficient to address high costs of, our electricians and our construction, and make sure we're tackling housing, and then also expanding the Housing Champions program, which is a partnership with our municipalities where the state works together with towns and cities to really help incentivize housing changes. I think being able to make sure that the electorate knows we're working on these solutions and that we're really laser focused on getting things done for them is a really important piece.
Housing has been your big issue. What do you think you can get done in the minority working with Republicans?
I think that's a great question. There's a lot of opportunity to work together. Housing in particular, I know that there are some of my colleagues across the aisle that have worked on this issue before, and so places where we know this is going to be a tough budget year, and so places where we can be creative, for example, looking at carve-outs from existing tax revenue like the real estate transfer tax is something that I think we can work together on. And then I've also just been trying to understand if there's potentially some bond instruments or things that we can do to kind of add creative solutions to the housing financing problem. I think, again, the focus is making sure that up in Concord, we're really working on the problems that day to day people want to see get done. And I think what we've seen from the Republicans over and over again is that they're focused on filing bills that'll bring back the culture wars. They want to talk about these social issues where it's really not solving an existing problem for our Granite Staters.
Speaking to those, existing problems, we talk about, results in Manchester, kind of a five-alarm fire, when it's such a huge debate and Democrats are like saying you're denigrating the city, but Kelly Ayotte wins the city anyway with 51%. Do you think it made any difference that for the last 6 years, Democrats have been saying at the State House essentially, hey, if you get arrested for a crime, we don't want you to spend the weekend in jail and face adverse consequences, when people in Manchester are feeling like maybe that should be happening?
Manchester is our biggest city in the state. It continues to be on a path that will show in the future that we've seen incredible federal investment there. We've seen real reform in terms of planning and zoning. There's new housing units in the pipeline. And so, every city goes through growth times. Portsmouth has had its own times where, there's a lot of conversation about its direction. But I think focusing on the fact that we want to make sure every Granite Stater can thrive, and that we're setting them up in the public education system, that we have a place for them to live, that we're providing childcare for them, food they can afford, being able to heat their homes in the winter. These are the real things that I think are making a difference in people's day-to-day lives that we just, up at the State House, need to be working on day-to-day.
Only 8 Democrats in your caucus. What are the policy battles you want to fight?
There are, again, there's sort of a theme here, but I think there are places we can get things done together. For example, I think being able to start and grow a small business in New Hampshire is a place where there's probably a lot of unity. Being able to protect our clean drinking water from PFAS, which of course is an emerging contaminant and probably the first of many. Cannabis legalization is a place where there might be some bipartisan agreement. So I think those aren't necessarily battles we want to fight, but things we want to get done. And again, we won 49% of the popular vote in the state Senate, and so we'll continue to be fighting for reproductive freedom for Granite Staters and continuing to make sure the right to vote is as protected as it can be.
To what extent do you think the incoming Trump administration will be either creating or solving problems for you at the state level that you have to deal with?
I'm starting to hear from that already. So up in Concord, obviously, we work closely with the agency heads, and they're all trying to plan their budgets and their programming. And so what will happen under the Trump administration is certainly top of mind. Again, I think this speaks to how we've seen Republicans kind of pursue a chaos or culture agenda where, Democrats really are here sort of holding the line on these issues that matter day to day. And so, I would like to see my colleagues in the State House work together to sort of make sure the Granite State can maintain its plans and stay a stable and healthy state in the face of whatever chaos is going to come from Washington.
As we wrap up here, education freedom accounts, we're likely to see a debate on eligibility and expansion there. What are you going to do about that?
Well, the Republicans have set up the budget that they're going to be working on this year, and I'm curious to see what choices they're going to be making in terms of cuts to services. We know it's going to be a tough budget year already, and so to the extent education freedom accounts again go over budget in an unanticipated way, that's going to further cut into services for our Granite Staters. So what's going to be on the line? Is it going to be equipment for our law enforcement folks? Is it going to be protection for children under DCYF? There are some tough choices to make here, and I think Kelly Ayotte and the Republicans really need to be accountable for the choices that they're going to make going forward.
All right, Senator Rebecca Perkins-Squilka of Portsmouth, thanks for joining us on Close Up.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with NHGOP Chairman Chris Ager. Stay with us.